And we are live, and you're going to find out who I like in the Arnold Classic this coming March. The lineup has been released, and it's a great one. Stay tuned. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. This is a very special RX Muscle News update. Of course, I'm Dave Palumbo. Sid's going to be joining us in a few minutes. And the Arnold Classic has been officially released, the list that is. And man, I am super, super psyched to see the names on that list. It is the Olympia lineup minus Hadi Choopan, but with a lot of other guys added to that lineup that we didn't see at the Olympia. We're going to see, obviously, Samson Dowder, our defending Olympia champion on that stage. Andrew Jack. We got Akeem Williams. Carlos Thomas Jr. finally going to be making his debut for the 2025 season. We're going to see him on stage. We didn't get to see him at all last year. And I'm telling you, this lineup is going to be one for the ages. We got Derek Lunsford, looking for revenge after that third place finish and losing his Olympia title to Samson. And I don't think he can get much better than this. I think that Arnold and the Arnold team did a great job securing the best possible lineup. Sean Clarita doing the Open. I mean, this guy is like, man, I'm all in on the Open. They're not going to have a 212. I'm going in there, and I'm going in there to take no prisoners. I mean, you gotta be loving this lineup. I mean, John De La Rosa. I mean, look at that list of people. I mean, it's and then you got James Hollingshead. People that are just super popular. Justin Rodriguez. I'm like really happy about this lineup. Sid, what do you think? I mean, Arnold really did a great job getting these guys to enter this show. A lot of times it's very hard to get guys to do both the Olympia and the Arnold. It seems like everyone's all in. I have to believe, look, Chris Aceto said it. He was right. I got to give him credit. Money talks. Arnold putting up $500,000 for first place. Who doesn't want to win $500,000? I mean, that's the reason we got this lineup.
What's so funny? Last year, after Arnold made that big announcement, remember that it was in the absolute heat of the moment, right?
Yeah.
Winner was announced. There's confetti for all the sky. Everybody's camera focus out.
Yep.
And he makes that announcement when the literal attention of the bodybuilding world and everybody in that audience, with everybody recording that moment went completely viral. I looked over to Derek. And I'm like, Derek, he's sitting obviously in the spectator section. I'm like, does this fire you up? And he just had this smile on his face or whatever like that. And, because it was funny. We were joking about how, between 500,000, you're potentially in line for $900,000 next year or whatever. Like little did we know that Jake would up it to,
600.
600 exactly right.
Well, the funny thing is, the funny thing is that I don't think Derek had any intention of ever doing the Arnold Classic because he was the reigning Olympia champ. He thought he would repeat. He would never have done the Olympia after that. I don't believe he would have. I think the fact that he took third and showed vulnerability wasn't at his best. He has something to prove here, not just to the bodybuilding world, but to himself. And also, the money ain't hurt either. $500,000 is not. I mean, Samson Dowd is doing this for the money. There's no reason other than the money that he is doing this show.
Well, you say that, but I mean, look, I think I will say this in giving Samson credit. He's been very much, on the line as far as being a competitor, wanting to compete. I mean, look, literally a week and a half before the Olympia, he's in France competing at the France Pro, a show that was.
But that's a week before, Sid. This is potentially, look, Ronnie Coleman, the great Ronnie Coleman, maybe looked the best he ever did when he won the Arnold in 2002. But when he got to the Olympiad later that year, he did not look his best because it's hard to peak twice a year.
No,
so
100%.
Samson is certainly risking, he just won the Olympia. He could relax the whole year, focus on improving, come back. But he's like, you know what? What is my lifespan in bodybuilding? The last couple Mr. Olympias haven't lasted very long, right? They've lost the title. I better just cash in while I can. And this is a smart move on his part. He has the ability to compete over and over again. He doesn't need to be any bigger. If anything, he could probably come in even harder. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the best Samson Dowda we ever saw.
No, I think let's just look at this from a 30,000 feet up. You have Samson Dowda, Mr. Olympia Samson Dowda, and really in the history of Arnold Classics, recent history, how many times have you had it where somebody wins the Mr. Olympia and here we are a few months later is committing to compete at the Arnold Classic? So that does prove that Samson, again, we could talk about the money. Obviously, the money has to be a factor, but the fact that he's not shutting it down and just looking ahead to his first ever Olympia title defense, that he's going to be competing against the best of the world. And look, that has been a consistent claim of his, that he wants to compete. He's a competitor at heart. And this is the kind of thing that drives him. So very happy to see, obviously, look, we knew Samson, he announced it a long time ago. He announced it at the Olympia that he was going to be committed in the Arnold Classic. So obviously no surprise there. To me, the big surprise, and I won't say surprise, but again, revelation, if you want to call it that, is that Derek is going to be doing this. I spoke to Hani Rambod a few weeks ago about Derek's plans, about Hadi Choopan's plans. And he said, look, well, Hadi's already put it on the record for Iranian media outlets that his attention was fully on the 2025 Olympia. He did not want to do a show in between now and then. Derek, again, I think the prevailing thought was that he too was going to be just focusing on the 2025 Olympia, but that door was still open. So for him to do that, and he just put on an Instagram post, I'm going to see if I can grab it real quick. He put it in the caption, kind of, I guess, in a way, trolling everyone that had been calling him just someone that only wants to compete once a year. Where is it? Let me see it. Here we go. So yeah, I'm just pulling this up real quick. So yeah, Derek competing in this obviously adds another dimension of the show. When they say you only compete once a year, see you in Columbus, Ohio. So I think that is a very exciting development. And let's not lose sight of the fact that you have Andrew Jack in this show as well. Andrew Jack, who, remember last week, you and Chris Aceto, did we just lose Dave? We lost Dave. All right. So I'm talking to myself. We thought coming into this show, and again, Dave and Chris were talking about this on Heavy Muscle Radio last week, that this was going to be one of those big showdowns between the quote-unquote twin towers in Samson Dowda and Andrew Jack. We got Dave back. We got Dave.
Yeah, sorry. I got a new computer. I'm still using the old piece of crap.
Yeah, no problem at all. So I was telling the audience about how last week, again, you guys had really headlined this show as a showdown of the Twin Towers, right? With Andrew Jack, with the Samson Dowda. So again, let's not lose sight of the fact that Andrew Jack, yeah, fair enough, coming in fifth at this past Olympia, and many would consider, if you ask him point blank, you probably consider it to be a disappointment. Knowing he could have done better, knowing there was such expectations riding on him coming into that Olympia, especially given what we saw at the Texas Pro just weeks prior to that. So again, now you're talking about world's number 5, who, again, if he ever, nailed it at the Olympia, we could be talking about a totally different conversation. But between him, Samson, and Derek, that's your headline right there. Obviously, yes, you talk about Carlos Thomas Jr., and I too, Dave, very excited to see that, because again, we're seeing the return of Carlos. But it's not just any show. He's doing this against a quasi Olympia lineup. So you want to see. We talk about this all the time, Dave, as far as top competitors that have not yet tasted the Olympia stage, and how would they do against the top Olympia lineup? You're going to get an opportunity to see that with Carlos Thomas Jr. But Dave, let me get a thought from you as far as, again, we talk about quasi Olympia lineup, but you're talking about reigning Mr. Olympia, the last year's Mr. Olympia, and now someone that a lot of people had billed as a top Olympia title contender in, I guess, technically the world's number 5 in Andrew Jack.
Well, I think Andrew Jack and Derek are in this lineup not just for the money, but because they weren't their best at the Olympia. And no one likes to have that taste in their mouth the whole year. There's no reason why if Andrew comes and does the show and wins, beats Mr. Olympia, he boosts his stock through the roof. Number one, he makes a lot of money, but number two, he qualifies for the Olympia for this, coming year. And he's the number one guy, so it's risky for Samson to run to do this show, because if he's a little off and he gets beat by a guy like Andrew Jack, who can stand with him mass wise and height wise and width wise, it's a little dangerous. But Sampson has never been afraid to challenge, anyone. So I think we're going to see a really good Sampson. Derek, on the other hand, is a guy who, if he would have looked like he did the year before, he probably would have re-won the Olympia again. He probably would be two-time champ. So he's mad. He made a mistake, obviously, whether he over-dieted or what, but his legs were down in size, and he wasn't the Derek that we had seen the year before. So he's coming back to show everyone, hey, I'm still the best bodybuilder in the world. And if he wins this show, does the same thing. It raises his stock through the roof. And so for those two guys, it's a great move. Sampson's the one risking it, but you know what? With that much money on the line, it's really not a risk. He's the reigning Mr. Olympia. He's the guy to beat. So I understand why those three guys. Carlos Thomas, total dark horse. If you're going to talk about a guy who could potentially come in here and really, really shake things up, he's got the mass, he's got the size, he's got the structure. If he brings the conditioning, watch out, because he could be in that top three, certainly in the top five conversation. The question I think a lot of fans have probably is, where the hell's Nick Walker in this lineup? Nick loves to compete against these guys. He didn't do the Olympia. Why isn't Nick Walker in this lineup? And the answer is either he's not ready because he didn't put back the size that he felt he needed, or he's not mentally ready to mix it up with these top guys. He's going to save it for New York and Pittsburgh a little later in the year, which is also a nice payday, but maybe give him a little bit more time to get back to the Nick Walker that he was. But he's been posting pictures. He looks pretty big. So I have to imagine that he has had this conversation with who was ever coaching him now, and they just decided it's too soon.
Yeah, no. So I think there were whispers as far as whether or not Nick Walker was going to jump into this Arnold Classic lineup. And unlike 2 years ago where he competed, battled Samson Dada one-on-one, I just think this time he's kind of looking at the whole picture, right? Saying to himself, all right, let me take a step back. Last year, missing the Olympia due to injury. This year, obviously, whatever the reasons, not liking where he was at. Now, new coach. I think he needs to just take a step back, reassess, and kind of keep his eye on the prize, which is, it could be Pittsburgh, it could be New York, but, path to requalification for the Olympia. But I think that's going to take some time, right? I mean, we're talking about the Olympia only just being whatever it is, 2-3 months ago. And we saw where he was at that time. And I don't just mean physique. I'm talking mentally. I'm talking in terms of where he felt he was as a bodybuilder. Now you incorporate a new coach. I just think the conversation for Nick Walker has to be not a microwave conversation. It needs to be some slow cooking for him to, I guess, not just realize his potential, but re-realize his potential.
Right. No, I mean, right. If Nick Walker shows up and loses to Sampson, Andrew, Derek, Carlos Thomas, and Akeem, that's not good for him. You know what I mean? So
no, and I think you brought up the best point as far as, with Carlos Thomas Jr. Again, we're talking about the first taste that we're going to get of him going up against this caliber of competition. But, we're talking about wild cards, dark horses, someone, the ready-made tools. I mean, the legs that he possesses. I saw him up close at the Texas Pro in his pro debut. And what did I tell you? Literally, as soon as prejudging it, I'm like, Dave, if he brings in a little bit more conditioning, which again is a matter of time. It was his first time on stage. If he could nail conditioning with those quads, holy crap, he could be a real factor. So we're going to get an opportunity to see that. I'm taking a look at some of the other, competitors. Again, Akeem Williams, coming
off that big win,
exactly, and very much in the conversation of possibly his best look as a professional.
To top five here for sure, I have to believe.
Right. And it's funny because, again, we're at that moment, we're thinking to ourselves, all right, wow, if you could capture this and repackage it for the Olympia. And by the way, we still don't know actually when the Olympia, I was going to say, next October, November or whatever. But now, fast forward just a few weeks later, we are going to get a taste of what Akeem Williams. And Dave, it's funny because this whole process with Akeem Williams started last year. Again, keep in mind, working with Chris Aceto. And for those that don't know, Chris lost his mother last year, the week prior to the Olympia. So he left at a certain point for the services. So, again, who knows if Chris was with him, what could have happened? Again, neither here nor there. But Akeem Williams, from prejudging the finals, remember that look that he brought finals of the Arnold Classic. And we said to ourselves, had he brought that in prejudging, who knows? Fast forward to this past show and what the look that he just brought.
Right.
And you say to yourself, if he could bring that look at the Arnold Classic.
He's freaky. Exactly. He certainly can. if a couple guys are off, he could definitely be in that top 3. If a few guys are off, but it is. Look, it is an Olympia lineup. It's going to be tough. I mean, you got Brandon Curry in this lineup too.
Yes.
Brandon obviously has a bad taste from the Olympia too, because he did not like the way he looked there. He
No.
was off. He could come in here and certainly be top 5 for sure and higher. So, there's a lot of guys that, we're discounting, but, John De La Rosa has been improving by leaps and bounds. I think we're going to see him as a top 5 guy here. He's been so consistent the last 2 years. I love how much muscle he's put on. I love his conditioning. He's a tough guy. He does better at the Arnold notoriously than at the Olympia. I think he's going to be a very dangerous guy in this lineup. I can see him, and he's got like a Carlos Thomas type physique. So those guys, when they bring conditioning, they're unbelievable. When they're a little off, you say, wow, look at all that potential. I wish he would have been harder. But John's been nailing his conditioning these last 2 years. So I think we're going to see a really good – I think Carlos is going to be the biggest dark horse. We're not going to know what we're going to see until we see him on stage. And, and Bonac is always very dangerous in this lineup.
Yeah,
so
that's the name I was going to bring up next. I mean, you're talking about the only 3-time Arnold U.S. champion in William Bonac. And, again, we just saw him at the Olympia top 7.
I thought he looked great.
Looked great. Looked incredible.
The best he's looked,
Right. I mean, he took, some time off the stage. I think, 18 months off the stage. And, this year bouncing back, getting his Olympia qualification. I forget, it was either in Spain or Italy, but then
he's not as big as he was, but he's still as gnarly hard and
right. And he competed. He competed 3 times, I believe, this past year. It was either Spain or Italy. I'm mixing them up, but then Dubai Pro and then the Olympia, where he looked phenomenal. So again, this is in many people's words, many people's opinions, he's the most decorated active veteran bodybuilder on the stage right now. So good to see him on the stage. And obviously, again, you look at a resurgence possibly in Patrick Moore. Again, this is someone that we go back to the 2019 Olympia, the one that Brandon Curry won. I'm confusing it. And remember, I think he finished 9th, but a lot of people thought, he was someone that could place a lot higher. But again, showing that condition, showing the potential, it's been a chapter. It's been a story of ups and downs for Patrick Moore. But again, seeing him back on this big stage, always a chance for that, that character, the story arc for him. Justin Rodriguez, another veteran, James Hollingshead. So this lineup is absolutely good. Now, here's the thing.
The big question. Yeah.
Okay. So
let's see if your question is the same as my question.
No Nick Walker right now. But remember, last time he was inserted, he
jumped in at the last minute. Yeah, I know.
3 weeks after the initial lineup was announced. Right now, you wonder to yourself, who are the candidates to be late entries or second?
I don't think they're going to have any late entries. You know why? That lineup was when Arnold boosted the prize money up, because they weren't getting a lot of people.
And it was just $300,000.
That's why they let guys in at the last minute. So I don't think Nick Walker's coming in. I think he has a game plan for 2025. I think he's going to stick to that. The question a lot of people are asking me is, who's Derek's new coach? And I don't want to release that. I kind of know who it is. It's someone that we all know very well, but we'll let them announce that when they're ready to announce that. But put it this way, Derek's in good hands.
The rumor that I heard was AJ Sims. I don't know if that's confirmed or
I didn't. That's not the rumor I heard, but yeah.
All right, so you must have heard another. Okay, so that was the rumor that I heard, but then I heard
that's a rumor, but I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true.
No. So then I heard another rumor, which might be the same rumor that you heard, coming from the source of that we both know. So that might be the story as well. So
I think that's going to be it. Unfortunately,
so then I think I know where you're going with
retired,
this. All right.
So he's definitely going to have a new coach. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah. Right. So, but nonetheless, exciting.
I'm surprised. I want to just throw this one out because we haven't said it yet. I'm surprised that Hadi is not coming back to defend his Arnold Classic title. I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Now, number one, he wasn't at his best at the Olympia, so I'm sure that's bothering him. Okay. Number two, I know people say, well, maybe he wasn't at his best at the Olympia because he was at his best at the Arnold. But you know what?
The Arnold,
Arnold's a big title. He won $500,000. I got to imagine in Iran, $500,000 is like probably winning like $5 million. So, and he knows he could beat all these guys. He's beaten them before. So I'm shocked that he's not coming into this lineup. What do you think is the reason?
It's a very good question. And it's funny because, again, we talk about the prize earnings that he won this past year. He won more this past year than Ronnie Coleman won in all of his competition careers combined. When you think about that, it's crazy.
No, not all his competition years combined. No, he won. What did he win? He won 500 grand, and then he won another 250. He won 650 this year.
What did Hadi win?
I'm saying Hadi won 650 this year.
Right.
He won more in 1 year than Ronnie won in 1 year, but not in his entire Olympia run.
Okay, the Olympia titles.
Because Ronnie won 8 Olympias. That's at least $1 million right there.
Okay, I'm doing the math wrong, but nonetheless,
the point is he's won more in a year than Ronnie Coleman won in a year. That's for sure.
Okay, but Arnold. The story goes that yes, you're right. He wasn't thrilled with the way that he looked. However, if you just saw the post that he put up, what was it, a few days ago, where let me pull this up because you have to. He's
devastating looking. He's devastating. That's why I don't know why he's not doing it.
Where was it?
He looks huge. He could absolutely be in shape to do this, Arnold. No doubt about it.
Where was this? The thing that he literally.
You posted it on Arnold Classic.
Oh, he edited it. Okay.
Okay.
He edited it. So he posted something. I'm just gonna post it right now. This video.
You posted something on RX Muscle. He looked really good.
No. Right. Yeah. Okay. So this was this video. You see how it says edited right here. Now he said something to the effect. Now again, when it comes to Hadi or any other foreign athlete posting something in their native language, Google Translate potentially could take things out of context. But it said something to the effect of like how something about his conditioning, but the judges don't see it, or the judges didn't see it, something like that. So now, again, people took that as if Hadi's calling out the judging panel for not seeing the level of conditioning.
The problem was that he didn't, on the prejudging on Friday night, he did not look like he should have done. And you know what? He's lucky he got second place because of that, because he really did come back a lot better on Saturday night. And that's what saved
there again, Dave, also goes the argument of like, and I know Lee Priest always brings that up. Sometimes subconsciously, do you look at Hadi and say to yourself, well, I just saw him a few months ago, and that was the most conditioned that I ever saw a bodybuilder at the Arnold Classic stage.
Well,
and you see him a few months later. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, if he would have looked, no, what I'm saying is if he would have looked like he did on Saturday night, on Friday night, he might have won the show, is what I'm saying. So he was, even though he didn't have to be like he did at the Arnold. He just needed to look like he did on Saturday, on Friday, and he didn't. Samson beat him on Friday for sure. And then, when you win a prejudging and then you come back and you're even better at night.
Right.
Samson sealed the deal. Hadi couldn't.
No, 100%.
They were not.
And again, this is not to take anything away from Samson, and obviously, the accomplishment that it was. And I mean, he brought a look that's the standard. That's a new Mr. Olympia.
Hadi over-dieted is what happened.
Right. Well, but now you say to yourself, again, going back to the original question, why isn't Hadi doing the show, right? Is it, again, just a matter of, all right, you know what? I'm putting all my eggs in that basket of the Olympia, or is he just, again, or is it just the fact that, like, we don't know what the process is like for him to get back here and do the Arnold. I think there is no Dave. Again, the conversation that I referenced to Hani Rambo. There is no golden visa from Iran, right? It's not like, okay, you're coming from, say, like, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, where you get a 10-year visa. I don't know if he has that, or I don't know if that's.
I think once you're in I think once you get in a few times, I think that they know he's not a terrorist or anything like that, or anything dangerous guy.
But anyway, for me, it's one of two scenarios. One where he's just saying to himself, "I'm focusing everything on the Olympia." Right. Or it's just a matter of, all right, do I really want to? He's got other things going on. I know he opened up
burnt out.
Other businesses.
Maybe he's mentally burnt out. It's possible he doesn't want to diet.
Exactly. So, but nonetheless, look, you have a phenomenal lineup. I mean, hats off to the Arnold committee, to Arnold Schwarzenegger putting this kind of a lineup together.
Hold on, one more question before you wrap this up. I want to ask you one more question.
Yeah.
You think we'll have an announcement again at the end of the show that Arnold's raising the prize money? And if so, how much do you think he'll raise it to?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if he's raising it to 500, it wouldn't surprise me if he, while all the confetti's falling from the sky, and whether it's Samson or whether it's Derek or whether it's Andrew Jack, hoisting that Arnold Classic trophy, and everybody's got their camera phones out. He's like, ladies and gentlemen, next year the top prize is going to be $1 million. It would not surprise me one bit.
I see. I could see him doing 750, but he really, if that's what they're shooting for to get to $1 million, he should just go right. I've said this before in other interviews. He should just go right to $1 million and
The guy's
snag that
got
already. You know,
the guy's got more money than entire countries put
well, I
together.
mean, he can raise it, and he doesn't want to spend his own money, but he could certainly raise it.
My point being, he has the means, the resources,
Yes.
the reach
Yeah.
to pay whatever. So if you're asking me, do I think he'll make an announcement, and then what do I think that dollar amount will be? I absolutely say yes and yes, and I think that number is going to be $1 million.
If he does $1 million, that you're going to get everyone in that show the following year. Everyone's going to do that show. So just
again, if we are to sit back and see the tit for tat, the whatever you want to call it, between the Olympia and the Arnold, which, let's just be real, both have been very open about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word, but it becomes a bit of a pissing contest, right? It's like, all right,
who cares? You know what? If they both give away $1 million for first place, who benefits? The athlete. Doesn't matter.
Right? So
I don't care what caused the prize money to get there. If it's egos or people saying I want to be the first to $1 million, at least let it get there.
It's a matter of prestige. It's a matter of prestige. And look, if there's
in the history,
there is a historical precedent to be set that we were the first to put it at $1 million.
Still, Sid, once that happens, historically now, bodybuilding has finally arrived where people can make a very, very good living from winning Olympia titles, Arnold titles, and competing in this sport. It's going to raise it up to a level of the other sports. Not, it's not going to be football and basketball, but it's going to be, hey, I could retire on this money if I win a couple $1 million over the course of my career,
No, look, I it's great for everyone. I mean, look, Arnold, made that big foray, but look, credit the Olympia committee, credit Jake Wood.
Manning's giving away $200,000,
right?
So,
exactly.
Or $100,000.
Again, we sometimes tend to forget. I mean, the Olympia, the expenses that they incur to get everybody there, to get all the athletes in there, and then obviously they're paying a lot more athletes, a lot more divisions. Again, we had to take that into consideration. So look, I think in general, bodybuilding is in great hands. And like, as you mentioned, Pittsburgh, $100,000 top prize. I mean, look, Dubai Pro, Bader. Right now it's at 100. God knows what it's going to be.
I heard it's 200,000 this year. That's what I heard.
Yeah, it's going to keep going up.
It's one of those things that's a lot of money. In 5 years, 10 years from now, these guys could be winning $1 million a couple at several.
But you know what? Great. Phenomenal. I mean, and now you're going to get the best of the best, and you're going to see them on stage more. It's going to be better for them, better for us as media, better for the fans. So I think, look, it's all around. It's great for bodybuilding. But Dave, I got to run because LeBron James' son and Carmelo Anthony's son are going to be squaring off tonight at UBS Arena, Sierra Canyon High School,
and you're announcing
Lutheran, and I'm announcing it. So it's going to be great times, and it's going to be great times at the end of February and March. Arnold Classic is going to be a quasi Olympia lineup. We can't wait. Obviously, look. We're at December 13th, and we're going to have between now and then. So we're going to have preview segments galore. We're going to bring back Iron Debate, not just to discuss this, but discuss all topics in bodybuilding. We've been kind of lacking with that. So we're going to bring that back as something that, as far as analysis to give back, bring back some of the top names in all the sport, whatever, break down some of these topics, whatever like that. So again, if you have any questions, comment them below. We'll fire away, and it's going to be a lot of fun between now and the course of February. March, Arnold Classic, quasi-Olympia lineup. Full lineup, once again. Check out their Instagram. Check out our Instagram, official_RX Muscle. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Siddique Farooqi. We'll see you next time.